everyone.
Thank you.
Today in the kitchen, I am really excited for all of the Canadians in the room. We have Canadian Thanksgiving coming up in like just over a week. It's a really special time for our family because one of my children is born actually on the 12th of October. And so always we seem to be celebrating a birthday around Thanksgiving. Marinade, and this one, especially if you're making it for the holidays, this is a great thing to put in the fridge the night before, and it's easy prep for the next day. Here is the finished product. Let me bring it closer so you can see. You can have nice crispy skin on the outside from the rice paper and your beautiful tofu filling. It's really easy to crumble it up. It's good for your nervous system.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone.
Thank you.
To today in the kitchen. I am really excited for all of the Canadians in the room. We have Canadian Thanksgiving coming up in like just over a week. It's a really special time for our family because one of my children is born actually on the 12th of October. And so always we seem to be celebrating a birthday around Thanksgiving. And we used to celebrate with a turkey. And when we went plant-based as a family, all of a sudden turkey doesn't work. So I get asked all the time, what do you do for Thanksgiving and Christmas and other holidays that you might celebrate? And so we used to do, or we do, and we still do. I'm not going to lie. My kids like the little turkey balls, and one of my kids likes tofu turkey, but all of that is made with seitan and other things that have gluten in it. And for this program, I'm definitely staying to the gluten-free side. So we have this amazing recipe for tofu turkey rolls. And so we're going to do that today. And then next week, we're going to tackle some of the side specialties that we like at the holidays for our family. And if you celebrate the American Thanksgiving, you can have this recipe for American Thanksgiving, which is, I think, a month and a half away, the end of November. So all our main ingredients are really tofu and potatoes, and that's it. So what I'm going to do is I've got some russet potatoes. I'm leaving the skin on, so I get all of the nutrients from the skin. And I'm just going to take a couple of potatoes and cook them up. So you can cook your potatoes one of two ways. You can boil them, which is the standard way and the way that we do it a lot. So just dice the potatoes. So I've got a couple of potatoes that I've washed the skins already. I'm going to dice them up here. And while I'm dicing them, you can put water to cover, and I'm just dicing them. So the smaller the pieces, the faster they cook. So I'm dicing them up so it's in cubes. And you can put water on, bring the water to a boil, and then from there, lower it and simmer it for about 15 to 20 minutes. And you've got your potatoes are nice and till they're soft to touch with your fork. Now, this is called the long and low way, which is the way to keep the most nutrients in your potatoes or whatever you're doing. And white potatoes, you've probably heard me say this, are perfectly amazing vegetables. They're one of the most nutrient dense foods we have. People can survive on potatoes alone for long periods of time. They did that in the days when they had the famine in Ireland. And they lived on potatoes. So I've just cut my potatoes up. I have a nice steel pot. I'm going to put a little bit of water for steam, not a lot, like literally just a couple of, no more than a quarter cup. And then I'll put the lid on, and then I'm going to put this on the stove and on a high heat. Once the lid is hot to touch, then turn it down. No peeking. It's like rice, right? No peeking. Leave the lid on. And then from there, you let it steam away for about an hour. And again, no peeking. So let me put this on the stove. And for me, I'm putting on a timer because I will forget, and I've done that where I totally forgot and then it scorched the bottom of the pan and burnt the potatoes or whatever vegetables. And you can use this method for any vegetables that you want to do. So that's potatoes on to boil, and then we're going to make our tofu. So what we want, so we want to marinate our tofu for about overnight is best, but at least a few hours so that you get the flavors. And of course, I forgot to bring a dish for that. So we're going to use this dish here, trying to remember everything I need to bring with me. So what I'm going to do is put in the marinade ingredients right now. And I've got my measuring cup. So we have some tamari. You can use a soy sauce if you want. I prefer the flavor of tamari. So I've got about 3 tablespoons of tamari I'm going to put in. I'm putting my liquids in first. That's the tamari. And we've got some apple cider vinegar to have a little bit of acid with it, nice flavoring. So I'm going to put a tablespoon of that. And I will give you the recipe after. I'll have a link for you for where the recipe will be. And also once the video is edited, I will pop that up too. So if you want to replay the video. And then I'm adding in some maple syrup, just a little bit, another good Canadian flavor. I was watching a cooking show and they were talking about how, I think it's Virginia is the place to go in the US for maple syrup. But there's lots in Canada, especially out east. And so what I'm looking for is this lid to be hot to touch. And once it's hot to touch, it's not quite there, then I'm going to turn it down. So you don't have to add the maple syrup, but I find that it's nice because it balances out the flavors for sure. Now I'm going to add in some of the dry ingredients. And I'm using my good old-fashioned cupping my hand. So I'm using about a tablespoon. You can use a real tablespoon. And ladies, don't be afraid to add a little bit more. So I've got nutritional yeast here. So it calls for a tablespoon. I usually put a little bit more. I love the flavor of nutritional yeast, so I'm going to add a little bit more. I have some onion powder. This one is a little sticky, so I'm just going to put about a tablespoon here. Check my, all right, it's getting hot, so I'm going to turn it down to low now. So I can turn off my timer. I have some garlic powder. I'm going to do a tablespoon of garlic powder and cupping in my hand. And like I said, you can use your measuring as well. And I've got some smoked paprika. So I'm going to do a couple of teaspoons of that. Yeah, so don't be afraid to use the spices. That's especially in plant-based cooking, it's really important to make sure you're getting enough flavor. And it's done usually through our spices. And what I find, we get these little tiny containers. And when I grew up, we didn't use spices all that much and just different flavors. So this is coriander here. And then I've got poultry seasoning. I love poultry seasoning because it gives you a bunch of flavors all together. So I'm going to get a couple of teaspoons of poultry seasoning. And that should be it. Now you could add some olive oil if you want to make it creamier and richer, but I do not. I just leave it the way it is. I'm going to stir this up. So that I get all the flavors together. And this is the part. This is a good thing for your nervous system, ladies. I'm going to put on some gloves today. I'm going to now mash up some tofu into that. So we're going to crumble the tofu in. This would be like a nice little exercise. Do a little breathing and just really get this tofu going. So I have a block of extra firm tofu. This is one where make sure that your tofu is non-GMO, organic, non-GMO. It is one of the, soy is one of the crops that is used a lot for animal feed, and they've really gone to town So what the genetically modified versions are, all of them are really about, we use a lot of pesticides in our crop farming, agriculture now, and the genetically modified has been done so to try and be able to withstand all the pesticides that are being used in the farming and agriculture. For sure, soybeans is one of the crops that was very highly genetically modified. So we're going to use non-GMO version of it. And I'm just crushing it up here, having a good time, crushing this up. My phone is talking to me. Don't talk to me, phone. And then I'm going to just mix this around. And this is our marinade. And this one, especially if you're making it up for the holidays, this is a great thing to put in the fridge the night before. And it's easy prep for the next day. So I've got that. And that's the next thing. And so I'm going to let this marinade. I'm going to put this in the fridge and let it marinate, maybe even overnight is good. It's not going to hurt it. It'll give you more flavors. And tofu on its own doesn't have a lot of flavor. It gets a bad rap because it doesn't have a lot of flavor. It's all the spices and what you do with it that is where you get the flavor from. Now, I have one that I had overnight that I've marinated and I'm ready to use. So the next step here, I'm going to just get this all beautiful, oh, so good, is to add your boiled potatoes in. Now, I'm going to just have some potatoes here that I left here. So it's about a cup. You could use a little bit more. I'm going to use, you get to this point where you just eyeball things. All right, so I've got some potatoes and I'm going to use my fork because they're still warm. You want to get them while they're warm because you want to mash them in to your tofu. So this is going to give the tofu ability to be sticky when you're making your rolls. And then I'm going to just mash that in. And don't be afraid to, if you put a little bit too much, that's okay. There's no real harm in any of that. So I've got my tofu and my potato mix. So this is going to be my filling for my tofu rolls. So how do we do the tofu rolls? This is the fun part. So I'm going to go get my hot water. So I have some, it's hot. It's not boiling hot, but it is hot water. It's pretty hot. I'm putting it on a plate because we're going to use rice paper now as the skin for our tofu. So I'm just putting it on the plate so I have enough to soak up the rice paper, which I have here. So I bought these rice paper rounds. I found them in Superstore. I think other places sell them. In the international section is where you'll find this usually. And it took me a long time before I used any, but now I'm at the bottom. I'm going to get to buy some new ones. So they're just little rounds. And what you need to do is put them in the water till they're pliable. So I'm just going to stick this in the water. And it takes about 30 seconds to a minute. Doesn't take long. And then it starts sticking. Plastic wrap, when it starts sticking to itself, it's clinging to itself. So this is still, it's pliable now, but not that bad. So I'm going to put that, and then I'm just going to take a handful of my tofu here, make a nice, they shape very nicely with the potatoes, helps to give them that shape. Add it here. And then it's just like making a package. I'm just going to roll up the ends. I've got my, and then just roll it into a package. And there's one tofu roll ready to put in the oven to bake. I have my oven at 350 going here, and I got one more. I'm gonna make this last one. And I'm going to be running to Superstore to buy more so I can have all my turkey rolls. Yeah. All right. And if your water cools off while you're doing this, you can just add some hot water, refresh it here. All right. Got it. Put it on my board. Make a nice little roll. And again, just like a parcel, it's like you're wrapping presents. Beautiful present here. And then you've got, oops, this one's sliding a bit. And now I've got two that I'm going to put in the oven. So let me take off my gloves here. And I'm going to get out my baking rack. We use pizza pans for ours. And I've got some parchment paper here. I'm just going to add these. Got to watch because they do stick. You got to watch. This one's already sticking. Yes. Add it to the parchment paper. Usually I would put it straight on the parchment paper. And then we put that into the oven. Let's move this away. All right. Let me move this away as well. And I have two beautiful tofu rolls here that I've done. I've baked. Just going to get them off. You got to watch that they can stick to the bottom. So I would advise you to turn them in between. And they don't stick too much. Let me get my spatula out here. All right, now I got them. Check it out. Okay. I should have put some non-stick down. Parchment paper works better. We ran out, so I'm using foil. All right. And here is the finished product. Let me bring it closer so you can see. You can have nice crispy skin on the outside from the rice paper and your beautiful tofu filling. Yum. I got to get a knife to cut so I can have a bite. And my one daughter doesn't really the rice paper, but I love it. It's nice and crunchy. Just cut that up. It's piping hot. If you don't like rice paper, you can just eat the filling. I'm going to let it cool for a second. Bring you guys closer to me and see if there's any questions or comments. Here. All right. Yes. Oh, yeah. So we've got lots of good tofu here today. It's a tofu turkey rolls here. So I bake them for about 30 to 40 minutes on 350. And I would suggest that you turn them about halfway through so you get a nice even bake on both sides.
Okay, thank you.
And it doesn't stick.
Yeah.
Use parchment paper.
Use parchment paper, yes, not foil. Honestly, I went to Costco to get my parchment paper to get some stuff, and I thought we had more parchment paper, and it was like I saw the parchment paper all over. I think it was a sign I was supposed to buy it, but I didn't. Anyway, here, and cheers.
I think you
yes,
you can buy tofu already crumbled up or no? instead of you having to
Seen
do.
it crumbled up. I've seen it already marinated or smoked, but I've never
I
seen it
like the
crumbled up.
tofu dessert. I know you're not gonna like that.
Yeah,
That's my
no, but it's really easy to crumble it up. It's good for your nervous system.
yeah.
You
That's
know,
what I
get a little bit of
think.
whatever out. And
Frustration.
yeah, if you have frustration, it's great. I love chopping vegetables when I have time and I turn on some music and I can just get into a rhythm. That's also very soothing for your nervous system. But you have to have time as well. I don't know if anybody has any questions for me. Yeah, I think I'm going to be doing lots of tofu rolls this weekend, eating my tofu rolls, and next weekend too for Thanksgiving. All right. So easy to make too. It's very simple. And yes, Juju, nice to see you back with when you can, when you're in between school with your kids. Great. All right. If there's no questions, I'm going to put some music on. You can listen to,
You
yes.
can you use seaweed? What about seaweed or no?
What would you want to use seaweed for?
Instead of
You could, if you wanted to add in a little seaweed, I would say you probably could just add a
instead
little.
of the rice paper.
Oh, instead of rice paper? I've never tried that. I really haven't. I was going for the crispy skin, like a turkey kind of crispy skin. I don't know that you would get that, but I'll look into that if you could use seaweed for the outside. And
They make tofu. They have sushi tofu. They
yeah,
put tofu with sushi,
yeah.
the
But I'm not
seaweed.
sure because usually sushi you're not cooking it at all. And this one you're cooking in the oven now. But I'll check. That's an interesting question of what other wrappers you could use. You could add in, if you wanted to, you could cook up some mushrooms or some onion and put it in here as well. I would probably saute it before I put it in here, but you could do that as well, add some other things to it. Yeah, but this is the basic. You could add real garlic, that'll give it a boost. But I was just doing like a really easy, simple version. Not that adding garlic is that hard. Anyway, but yeah, you can try whatever you want. Oh, I wanted to say, because I tried this and it does not work that well, ladies, is the first or second time that I made these, trying of experimenting, I thought, oh, I'm making mashed potatoes for my family. I'm going to mash up the potatoes. I'm going to add the mashed potatoes to the tofu. And it did not work at all. It was not the same as mashing the cubes of potato into the tofu. You could try it if you want, but it definitely was not a hit for me. I did not enjoy it. I don't know why it was, but it was definitely not the same as mashing the potatoes into the tofu. All right.
Did you and sweet potatoes too, or no?
You could try. It's going to give it a different flavor. This is a pretty neutral flavor, but if you wanted to, you could try for sure. Anything's possible.